The issue of Taiwan's proposed procurement of more advanced fighter jets from the U.S. has resurfaced after the military renewed its request to purchase U.S.-made F-35 fighters from the Donald Trump administration, but receives no response or confirmation yet. Taiwan's Air Force is currently an odd mix of French Mirage 2000, American's F-16, and Taiwan's locally made indigenous defense fighters, or IDF. These were all fine aircraft when purchased 2 decades ago, but 20 years are really a long time ago in the combat aviation world. That's why since late 2011, during the previous Ma Ying-jeou administration, the R.O.C. armed forces have been expressing hope of purchasing the advanced F-35 fifth generation on multi-role fighters from the U.S., which is believed to have been postponed by Trump because he didn't want to upset China. Within Taiwan, some are also skeptical about its utility and effectiveness given the steep price tag.
It depends on the threat. Again, for a student of strategic studies, we need to calculate whether we need to pay more to get a higher and advanced system to deal with a new threat. If the threat to Taiwan cannot be dealt with by F-35, and why should we invest such a high pricey item to be included in our fleet of fighter jets?
Taiwan wants the F-35B, a variant that can take off on short surfaces and land vertically. Some believe that the fighter jet could help Taiwan maintain air defense should any Chinese missile attack destroy its runways. Besides diplomatic considerations, there are also questions about whether Taiwan could afford the F-35 or whether the war plan would provide the most effective defense. A price tag about $100 million each would quickly drain the $2.2 billion Taiwan has set aside for hardware purchases this year.
I have to say this, that F-35 is as I said, very good system, but it's very, very pricey. And the maintenance cost, the training for the crew, the pilots, and the ongoing maintenance and parts and materials are also very high. And so if Taiwan wants to acquire such a system, then we need, number one, to definitely raise the defense budget. Number two, we need to be able to provide the manpower and the training and logistic support before we think of whether we should buy that system.
The delay doesn't mean that the Trump administration won't eventually approve the deal, but it is the latest example of Trump making friendly gestures toward China at the price of Taiwan's benefits. The most immediate reason for all of these shifts is North Korea. Trump knows that Beijing has more leverage over the regime than any other country in the world. While the F-35 procurement is still in limbo, some experts also believe that Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, or THAAD system, is a more reasonable investment to deter China in the event of a conflict.
Because the Chinese believe that the THAAD system itself may not pose an immediate and direct threat to China. But its radar, as I had mentioned, that the radar can look very far. And if we tune the radar to the advanced mode, it could look about half of the Manchuria, and including most of the northern China and the Chinese capital, Beijing, are all under the radar surveillance. So that's the area that China feels that its strategic security might be compromised.
In conclusion, the combination of new air defense weapons with long-range THAAD system will be able to buy Taiwan some time to repel an initial invasion. Even if the U.S. were willing to sell the jets to Taiwan, we may have to wait for another 10 to 15 years to get its hands on its first F-35B, given the fact that there are currently more than 2,000 F-35s waiting on production lines. Consequently, while the F-35 may be a formidable weapon platform, Taiwan will have to have an alternative or backup plan in case of a conflict or even an invasion.